Salutations, ladies and gentlemen. The Knife Raven here, back again with another video. And in today's video, I am going to be discussing a GRAIL knife of mine. And for those who've been following my channel for a while, you're probably sick of seeing this style of knife, but if you're not, well, here it is. An Wright & Son Ettrick, as always. However, this one is in a very special handle material. And as you can see, I just oiled it. My hands are quite oily, but I'm very excited to discuss this knife. This is the second of two. I actually reviewed the first one on my other channel. Pardon me. And that was the very first video I'd done on that channel in ages. So if you're still interested, go to my old channel. I did a short review on this knife. Well, the other copy, that is. But I figured for my new subscribers who don't know of my old channel, I'll still do a video on that same knife here. And that's what you have here today. So, without further ado, let's have a look at this lovely little knife right here. To start, this is the basic Ettrick design. No structural changes at all. C70 carbon steel Wharncliffe blade, measuring in at around 2 and I believe 1/4 inches open. Pardon me, the blade length is 2 1/4 inches, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 2 1/4 inches overall with the blade, and about 2 inches of sharpened length. So, perfectly legal in most parts of the world. Overall length, just in at about 6 inches overall. And the handle is coming in at 4 inches. Very small knife with a larger handle compared to the blade, which is, again, some people might not like, but I personally love that fact about the Ettrick. It's quite unique in that aspect. And, of course, nickel-silver bolsters, brass pins, brass liners, and a C70 carbon steel spring. Now, the main feature of this knife that was so interesting to me was bog oak. That's the handle material we have here. And bog oak is, again, one of my all-time favorites. It's oak wood that has been left in a peat bog for anywhere from a few hundred to a few thousand years. And the acids in the bog interact with the tannins of the oak, causing it to change color from a bright almost color of this table to a jet black color similar to ebony. And I do have a piece of ebony here. This one is the Wright Ettrick as well. This is my first Ettrick. Although you can see, despite having a similar color, one has a much smoother surface, whereas the oak is a bit rougher. Also, this one's been sharpened and has had patina. This one has not been sharpened and does not have any patina. But these are pretty much the same knives. Let me just adjust my camera here. Okay, there we are. It was at a strange angle. I do have, of course, a couple other Ettricks to compare. Here's the rosewood. And because I have another one, here's the second bog oak Ettrick. Normally I don't buy duplicates of the same knife, but I figured this was going to be a limited release, so I went ahead and got two. They are slightly different. You can see the main differences are made in Sheffield versus Wright, Sheffield, England, and a larger nail nick versus a smaller nail nick. So they are slightly different, but they are, at the core, the same pattern. Line up to the spring is a little bit better on this one. Blade thickness almost seems a bit thicker on this model. Gapping is not really that bad on either of them, although it's a little worse on this one. Even at the very back of the knife. I'd say the inside is equally clean or equally dirty, depending on which way you look at it. Grinds are fairly even, this one being a bit more uneven. So really what I'm seeing is this one is just kind of the rougher made one altogether. Neither have blade play of any sort. and both came rather sharp. So Wright has been stepping up their game and actually sharpening their knives a fair bit before they send them out. These did come semi-shaving sharp, maybe not razor sharp, but they're certainly good enough that if you put a bit of force behind them, you can get some hairs. Not easily, but you still can, which shows quite a bit of improvement, as Wright knives used to come rather blunt. No half stops, of course. Stronger spring on this one. This one I said was about maybe a 7 or an 8. Probably a 7. This one would easily be an 8, which is quite strong for an Ettrick. These tend to have lighter pulls compared to Wright's other knives. So, kind of on the special side. These two are still very light, but these are stronger for some reason. I do have another bog oak knife from Sheffield. This is my Michael May custom. This one's got a pretty light pull, but it also has the worked back and the brass for the bolsters. But this is a lot higher polished a piece of bog oak. A lot smoother too. But again, this is a custom knife, which means it's going to cost a lot more. And that's what you'd expect, as opposed to just a simple production, well, factory ordered, special factory order version of a normal knife. Again, this is a pretty short video compared to my normal ones. I just kind of wanted to discuss this knife, and I'm very, very pleased with it. Again, centering is a little off, but perfectly straight blade, very strong snap. But all in all, I am incredibly impressed with this knife, and you may have seen this video twice because I reviewed it on my other channel, but I figured I'd talk about this one here because this is the better of the two. And again, I'm immensely happy with this. I got this at the famous Sheffield shop. They had a few of these in, and I was able to get a hold of 2 of them. So I'm very happy with that choice. Bog oak is easily my favorite handle material probably that I have of my Wrights, particularly my Ettricks. So I'm very happy to have not 1 but 2 of these. Again, I still really like the rosewood and the ebony, but my favorite would absolutely be this one, or pardon me, this one, as it is one of the nicer finished ones and also has my favorite handle material. I'm thinking of getting either a stag or a buffalo Ettrick in the future, but I think for now, having purchased 3 Ettricks within the span of a month, I think I'm gonna kind of tone it down, maybe look into some other knives. I've been specifically buying Ettricks lately, so I'll take a break from that. Probably should just rest with the 4 that I have here. But yeah, I am a huge fan of this knife, and it just goes to show what Wright can do for, again, 48 pounds. It's a bit more expensive than some of their other offerings, but it's still a budget knife compared to most brands nowadays. Still cheaper than a case, still much cheaper than a Great Eastern Cutlery, and certainly cheaper than a custom. So I'm very happy with this knife, and all of these really, but this is something else. It just oozes GRAIL knife for me. I love bog oak handled knives. I love Sheffield Wharncliffes, and here it is again, as I said, with another of my GRAILs. You can see there are similarities here, both Sheffield, both bog oak, both Wharncliffe. This one doesn't have file work, this one does. This one has brass, this one has nickel silver, but it doesn't matter. These two are still similar. You can tell that I certainly have a preference for certain types of knives, and this is absolutely one of them. So, huge fan of this knife. I absolutely love it. I think this is going to be one of my favorite knives of all time, and I already loved the Ettricks enough, but now having one in my favorite handle material, The only two ways this could get better for me is if this was a brass bolster, maybe if there was some file work, and maybe if it was mirror polished, some other kind of steel. I don't know what that would be. Just a higher end steel, maybe D2 or O1 with a mirror polish, brass, and a worked back. That would be something I'd very much like to see in the future. But yeah, I don't know if you can find these anymore. They were a limited release from Wright. I do believe they still have them listed on their official website, penknivesandScissors.co.uk. So if you want to get one of these for yourself, please do so quickly. They may not be around for much longer. So head on over to penknivesandScissors.co.uk, and you should be able to still get these, but I don't know how long they will still have this as an option. But if you want one, don't put it off. Get one while you can. And yeah, I am immensely proud of this knife. I am happy to own it, and it will easily become one of my favorites to carry, favorites to show off. It will probably appear in a lot of my other videos, but no. I know it seems a little ridiculous that I reviewed this knife twice. You know, I reviewed this copy on my other channel, but they are very different. This one is riddled with flaws. This one is much closer to being perfect. And while I like them both, this is the one that I really, really, really was happy to have. Again, when you buy identical knives from a maker who builds them by hand, you can't always expect consistency, which is unfortunate. I hope for better consistency, but this is just, I really like this knife. So thank you for sitting through that shorter than usual ramble of mine. I am absolutely in love with this knife. I really, really like this blade. Thank you very much for watching. This has been the Arthur Wright & Son Ettrick in Bog Oak, and this is the Knife Raven, as always, signing off. Goodbye.